our first-time home buyers, they're my nervous Nellies. You know, you have to hold their hands and you have to give them a lot more care and time because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to pay $500,000 on a home. This is a big investment. Am I able to do this? Is this going to work?
Buying or selling a home isn't just a financial decision, it's an emotional one. The stress of bidding wars, the uncertainty of relocating, and even the identity shifts that come with moving can all take a real toll on mental health. In this episode of the Modern Therapy Podcast, we're exploring the emotional side of real estate and how our sense of home shapes our well-being. Joining us in the conversation is Karlee Smart, a Jersey Shore-based realtor and former Mrs. New Jersey, who brings a unique perspective on guiding people through these life transitions with compassion and integrity. Super excited to have you here today. We have Karlee Smart, local Monmouth County realtor, also former Miss New Jersey. So we're going to be talking all about buying homes today, which is a pretty stressful event. So
It can be very stressful.
yeah, very relevant to mental health.
Yes.
So we're going to just jump in here. And so Karlee, can you start by telling us your story, your journey, what led you into selling homes?
Sure. So I was a teacher for over 15 years. I taught regular ed and special ed, but the last 11 years I was at a private high school where I taught different levels of history and created my own fashion curriculum, which was hard to leave. And I do miss my students and my school, but I was ready to take the next step in my career. I don't want to say I had a midlife crisis, but I definitely was like, this is not filling my bucket anymore. And I wanted a change, and I knew real estate was something that I always wanted to do, and I finally took the leap of faith right before COVID and got certified.
Yeah, that's awesome. And around COVID, that's when a lot of people were buying houses. That was probably an interesting time to get started.
So you learned very quickly, and the market when I first started was insane. Not that it's not now, it's always changing, but it was, you put a house on the market, it's gone in a second, a blink of an eye, and you have literally dozens, sometimes double digits, maybe 20 to 30 people come through on an open house and lines. And as a seller, you're like, this is great. And when you're a buyer, you're crying. Because it's like, I'm never going to get a home. And it was definitely a challenge on both sides. I would say at that time, buying was more stressful. And now it's kind of becoming a little bit more balanced, which is good for our buyers. But that was, it was definitely fire.
Good time to get your feet into
Yeah.
real estate,
Yeah.
right? For a real estate agent.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you go from managing students to managing adults, but in such an emotional capacity?
Funny enough, it's still the same thing. And you're still educating. And that's really something that I'm passionate about. I was like being in the classroom for so long. I have a passion for educating. So when I'm working, let's say I'm working with a buyer, I'm going to educate you every step of the way so you understand, okay, we're going to look at homes and this is what's happening in the market. This is what's happening in the neighborhood that you're looking at. But here are all the different things that we have to discuss, whether it's pre-approvals and the mortgage process, attorney review, finding the correct attorney, then opening the door to home inspections once you're under contract. So every step of the way, I guided my buyers. So education was really important to me to make sure I turnkey my knowledge and also continue my own knowledge journey and continuing my own my own journey of learning what's happening and taking those classes to make sure I can turnkey everything properly.
Yeah, which has to be so important for such an ever-changing field like real estate.
Yeah. So as a realtor, we are licensed and we do have to have a certain amount of hours every 2 years. You have to have like credits in different classes, whether it's fair housing and market analysis. But I'm always trying to just absorb everything. So my brokerage offers a lot of training and coaching. So I'm always learning. And that's really important to never stop learning.
Yeah, there are so many moving parts when you're buying a house. You know, I think buying the house is one, but the process of going through that is really complex, and a lot of people don't realize that. You know, there's negotiations that take place. There's a lot of paperwork. There's inspection periods. There's attorney reviews.
It takes a long time.
A
long time. Yeah.
And it's not, and it's something that like, so you get under contract. That's one huge hurdle. Because sometimes I had a client that it took us 2 years to find a home.
Yeah. Wow.
And we were getting outbid and nonstop. And it's not, during that time period, it wasn't easy. Now it's a little different, But I'm not going to lie to you. It's still like where we live in Monmouth County.
Monmouth County specifically, yeah.
We are in our own world, and what's happening in New Jersey and the rest of the country is not happening here. We are a shore area. People love the beach, so they want to live by it. But we're also a commuting area, and people commute into the city, New York.
Yep.
So we're in our own world. So we still have bidding wars. We still have multiple offers. But it's not what it was a couple of years ago, where it was 20 offers on the table and you had to negotiate to have the best offer. So you were taken. But once you get into that hurdle of being under contract, there are still times when that home might fall through. You might not even make it past attorney review. And during attorney review, both sides are going through the contract, making sure it's favorable for the seller and the buyer and that those terms are met. You close that hurdle. Great. Now we're officially under contract. And that's a big relief on both sides. But then you have inspections, and it could easily fall through an inspection. And I always guide my clients to have an inspection, whether or not you want to use it for informational purposes only. It's always important to know what your home or what you will be buying. This is a huge investment, and you want to know what your undertaking is. But I've had deals fall through after inspections. And then you have appraisals. And during the COVID era and a few years post-COVID, I mean, we were going well over ask and praying that the home would appraise. So those are two fall throughs that you could potentially lose your home. And having that right knowledge and education to guide along the way, it's really helpful. And then finally, you can eventually make it to the closing table once you pass those hurdles. But it does take time.
Where, as a realtor, where do you see deals falling apart most commonly?
For me, it was more so during inspections because you go in thinking it's this wonderful home and it's beautiful. But then when the inspection happens, they're looking at everything. They want to make sure that
looking a little closer,
yeah,
right?
yep. And then it's like they really want to make sure the home is safe, sound, and sanitary. So granted, there might be chipping paint and whatnot, and that's not going to kill a deal. But electrical problems could happen, wiring issues, structural issues, and I've had deals fall through because of those issues. And I don't want my clients to be in a home that's not safe and not sound. And if there's a structural issue and they're not willing to take on the work or negotiate to have the price different so they could take on the work, I'm not putting my clients into that. You know,
Right.
for me, it's about my client and making sure that they're taken care of, and it's not about the paycheck at the end of the day.
Yeah. And everybody's a little bit different, right? Like some buyers have a little bit more of a stomach to handle those types of things, and other buyers are like, nope, like just get me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've, I'm a buyer myself. Like my husband is very handy, and I'm blessed that he's very handy because our home, he's done all the work, and we've only had to sub out a little bit. But there are some people that can't see past a wallpaper or a color or the carpet, and sometimes it might be too much work for them. And, that's where, as a realtor, you want to make sure you understand all the needs and you have that pre-conversation before you even start looking at homes. Because the prices are high. If you don't buy something turnkey and it needs work, how much work are you willing to do?
Right. If you are handy, though, that inspection period can be a time of using some leverage.
100%. 100%. And I've seen that too.
Yeah.
It's like I had clients, we were able to negotiate credits back or like money back at closing because the inspection, found out a few things, and we were like, oh no, we want that taken care of. And they agreed, and they ended up giving us money back at closing.
And, negotiating and taking that step forward is an act of assertiveness, really, when you think about it, and
that
I
can be
think
scary.
it can be scary and intimidating for people to take that step because they want the house, they
Yeah.
want to move in, and they like it, but they're worried that maybe being a little assertive and making that ask is going to jeopardize their chances, or, something's going to go wrong. In your experience, are sellers often insulted or upset when a buyer comes in and tries to negotiate on inspection period?
So at least with my clients, again, going back to education. So for example, I had clients go in and they were concerned about an appliance not working properly. I'm like, okay, well, the fix is either we get it replaced or you repair it, or we just don't care about it.
Yeah.
And I always say to them, okay, is $1,000 or $500 something that you're willing to lose your home for? And having that open discussion and dialogue with my clients is really important. And on the flip side, when you're representing the seller, you kind of go in and say, okay, they're going to come in and nitpick everything. What are you willing to lose the deal for? What's your next step? So it really boils down for the seller motivation. Is that going to like be a hurdle for you to get to your next step? Are you retiring and moving down south? Or are you trying to downsize? Are you trying to go from a townhome to a larger home? So really, is that $5,000, $1,000 worth you not being able to go to your next step? So being very open with your clients is really important.
Yeah, that probably goes back to when the market is crazy and buyers feel like they don't have a say in anything. I know a lot of people were waiving inspections. Yep. They were coming in with these crazy cash offers. And it really made it that I think the sellers could kind of do whatever they wanted, at least for that period of time.
For that time, yeah.
I think like everybody, at least that I've talked to, is always like, where's all the money coming from, right? Like these people that are buying these houses cash,
right?
You know?
There, I mean, and it's funny enough. Now I'm starting to use more lending products, and the patterns we're seeing more lending out there and less cash. I had a over ask $275,000 over ask cash bidding war.
Oh,
and I'm like, okay, to each his own. But that was all cash, and you're like, where is this money coming from? Because I'd love to have that extra money floating around.
How do you help to manage those expectations? You do the education piece, but for a client who they've put offers in on 10 homes and it's just defeating. Not working out.
It's very defeating, and I've had clients feel very defeated after that. But again, it boils down to that appointment that I do with my clients before we even go look at homes, so I know what their expectations are, but being very honest about what the market is like. So again, it's changed. We're not seeing necessarily 20 offers. We might see 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5, depending on the price, but having that expectation, well, okay, you lost out on a deal. How can we sweeten our offer so we are the ones being chosen? So for example, I had a client, we did that. We went in very strong. We did something called an escalation clause. So we weren't willing to lose the deal. So we said for every, I want to say it was like every 2,000, we would go 2,000 over the next highest offer until a certain point. So that's just another negotiation tool, a negotiation tactic. Looking at the terms, are we shortening the time period? Are the sellers already under contract? Do they need to go somewhere quickly? So are we making our terms a 30-day close? Or on the flip side, do the sellers need more time? So having that flexibility is really important if you can do it. But having those conversations with your clients ahead of time really helps alleviate some of the defeat. So I had clients, first-time home buyers, and actually former students of mine, which was really cute and sweet, full circle moment. But they were working with someone else before, and they're like, Mrs. Smart, it's really hard. I don't understand. I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look and let's figure it out. And we did just that.
That's probably so relieving for them.
Yeah.
I want to circle back on that escalation clause.
Yeah.
Because I think that could be a really good tool for people who don't know about it. Can you just explain what an escalation clause is and when it's used?
Sure. So an escalation clause is something that you can do when you're putting an offer in. Your offer, let's just say, make it easy because my brain can't do numbers off the top of my head. It's $500,000 is your offer, okay? And you're willing to you don't want to lose the home. So you're willing to go up to 530. But our offer is going to be at 500 because there's nothing really else coming in. But in case someone comes in, we're protected. So we're now going to say for every offer that's higher than ours, we're going to go X amount over. So I like to do anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000, depending on the scenario. Yeah. So if it's every 5,000 over, so instead of being 500, we're now at 505, 510, 515, up until 530. So I actually just use that escalation clause on my last closing. And they were like, this is a great offer. And guess what? Someone came in and they're like, are you willing to go to that high point? And we had that conversation with my clients and they said yes. And we got the offer. Mm-hmm. So it's a great tool when you have, you're worried about something going
competitive situation.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes agents will say we're not taking that, which I think is a disservice to the seller, because if they're willing to go higher and offers you come in, that $5,000 is another appliance or more money towards your closing costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that could save tens of thousands, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
You can
tactic.
save money for the buyer too, because they're not just going in and saying, I'm going
Correct.
to offer 530.
Yeah.
Which is probably why some sellers don't love it. But
Yeah.
I think it's a great strategy.
I think it's great on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you make them submit proof of the offer, right?
Oh yeah. So we have to, when you submit that offer, whether you're putting it at 500 with an escalation clause, you're proving that you have the money to
Yeah.
go up to that end point. So
Yeah.
530 is where it is. So anytime we go in and put an offer in, whether it's cash or whether it's a lending product, you always show proof of funds.
Yeah. When are you finding is the most stressful time for people to look for homes? Like, what phase of life are you noticing? Oh, this is going to be tricky.
So I think phase of life, it's going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
All right. We're all in different scenarios and situations. So like in 6 years, I'll be a seller because I'm ready to move out of state. But I'm like I'll be in my mid 40s by that point. So it really just depends on where you are. I think our first time home buyers get a little bit more nervous because they're my nervous Nellies. You know, you have to hold their hands and you have to give them a lot more care and time because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to pay $500,000 on a home. This is a big investment. Am I able to do this? Is this going to work? And I find that my first time home buyers, they're my nervous Nellies more so than anyone else that I've worked with at different stages.
Yeah. You tell them, just don't think too hard about that number.
Yeah.
Because it's jarring. I think that we're so used to hearing people talk about buying and selling houses that those numbers kind of become a little arbitrary. But when you actually sit and think about it, you're like, no, this is the biggest investment of your life.
100%. And one thing, I talk about with my clients, they're like, oh, I want to keep renting. I'm like, well, you're worried about interest rates, and that's a big hurdle that I see. They're scared at like 6, 7, 8% interest rates. I'm like, well, you're paying 100% interest and then some because your rent, I see rents up to $4,000. So would you rather
the rents
pay?
are crazy
Oh,
right now,
renting
too,
is
yeah.
harder than buying.
Yeah.
For sure. So would you rather pay $4,000 at 100% interest rate or get a lending product and pay 2,500, maybe 3,000? So what are you willing to have that interest rate at, 100% or 7%?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really good talking point to kind of walk people through it because not everyone has the financial knowledge of what is best for me. And it sounds like you really go in with that education and help them figure that out because it's really overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. And again, having that team behind you. So it's not just me. I have my brokerage behind me, which is great. My coach, my mentor. But I also have my lending team and people, I have certain lenders that I think are better for certain people. So if you're a first-time home buyer, I'm going to refer you to this company and this person because they know about all the different credits and different programs. There's so many programs out there that I don't even know about. I know the basic ones, but there's way more. If you're a veteran, you have your VA loan, and that's a whole nother topic we can spend hours on. But there's lenders that I would refer to for the VA loan because it's a guaranteed loan.
Yeah.
So, you want to have that specialist that knows each of the different products. And that's really where I have my people that refer to. And you want to make sure that they're matched better. Like I give a couple options, but, if I think this person needs more products, I'm going to send you to this particular lender.
Yeah. That's probably so helpful for people because they don't know where to start all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What role do you think that identity plays in buying a house and kind of when people are moving into that next phase of life?
I guess I would say just, where it is that you see yourself. What's your motivation? Where's your goal? So are you looking to, build a family, or are you a new family and you have children? Are you ready to, are you looking for a particular district or a town that has certain amenities? On the flip side, are you looking to retire and have an adult community? Which adult community is best for me? Do you want to downsize and you want to stay in a single family home? So really just depends. Every person is unique. Every situation is different. I've never had a deal or transaction identical, and everything will change.
That probably keeps it very exciting for you.
It is. And I've had smooth transactions, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've actually had way more bumps in the roads, and that's where my knowledge and my team come in. And if I don't know the answer, I'm figuring it out and I'm asking my mentor.
Yeah.
Are you ever touring houses and you're like, oh, I want to live here. I don't want to sell it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially investing houses. I'm like, oh, this is a great investment. I really want to
probably
buy
too
it.
many times.
Very. Yeah.
You mentioned having a mentor. Has that been helpful in your journey?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So my coach, Carrie McNally, she's the CEO of Goldstone Realty. She's my she's amazing. I've since working with her tripled my business. I'm learning commercial. I'm learning new things, and anytime I have a question, I can just call her up and she answers the phone. And I have a standing coaching appointment with her every week. So she's helping me grow my business. She's helping me learn different things and really giving me good advice on how to handle different scenarios and situations.
I'm sure that's helpful from almost like even an emotional standpoint too, to have that support, because
Yeah.
it's very much a field that's, it's a sales role, right? You got
It's
to
up
go
and
out and
down.
meet people,
Yeah.
connect. So
Yeah, and
that can be challenging.
It's very challenging, and I'm going to be honest with you. Ask me to make a phone call, I cower, and I'm like, I can't do it. Ask me to speak in front of people. Ask me to have like 500 people. I can do that. I don't mind meeting and greeting and going to networking events, but the phone is just scary. So
There's something about it.
I know.
There's just something about it.
Yeah.
I feel like most people would have the opposite
They
Right.
do.
challenge.
They
but I
do.
get
I'm completely
your,
different.
Your pageant background probably helps with that,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Can
Sure.
you explain your pageant backgrounds?
All right, perfect. So I am a 3-time Mrs. New Jersey title holder. Thank you. And actually just won my national pageant. So I'm now Mrs. USA Icon. So I just
so
competed
That's
about a
cool.
week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So it's funny because all the roles all blend in.
Yeah.
I have to interview for my job. And I have to be able to negotiate for my job. I have to, interview my clients to make sure we're
Yeah.
good fits. And all those skills kind of balance out with real estate
Yeah.
and pageantry.
Yeah. When did you get into pageantry?
So I did, as a Miss, when I was in college, I did a Miss New Jersey USA. I won an interview award, and then I took a break, finished out college, and then I got married and had kids. And I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do pageants again. And then I found the world of Mrs. Pageantry. I was like, wait, I can actually do this now, and I'm married and not in my teens and 20s. I can do this at 40. And that's when I found Mrs. Pageantry. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Thank
and
you.
to just go back to something that you're really passionate about is important, because I
Yeah.
think it can be easy for parents to kind of lose that spark of what they were really interested in. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you're just full force. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And you go for it.
And it's great too because in my office, I'm the ambassador for community affairs. So it all blends together. All my roles all
Yeah.
blend together. So I'm like, all right, I'm actually doing a huge event in New York City. So I'm sure your listeners will see this post event, but it's a New York City Navy SEAL swim, and they raise money for the Navy SEAL Foundation and other veteran charities. And that's, last year I brought a team up from my office and we volunteered. This year I'm going as Mrs. USA Icon, so I will not be volunteering, but I'll be there cheering on. But
Yeah.
it's great that I can help, with my office and get out into the community. And then I'm also the vice chair of the PR committee for the Monmouth Ocean Realtors Association. So it's, I like being around people. That's my
Yeah.
thing. I think that's the teacher in me.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. You wear a lot of hats
I
or a lot
do.
of crowns.
There's a lot of crowds.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal, right? Is to find something that you do that just kind of blends life and work. And,
Yeah.
that's a great thing to have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how do you find that balance? Because I know a lot of people, when they reach out to their realtor, they want an answer that second.
Yeah.
You have kids, you have a life, you have hobbies. How do you manage that?
Oh, that's a great question because I do have my own way of managing my own stress. So I'm very into holistic methods for my own self-care. So I do a lot of grounding and holistic health and work and mindfulness. Working out is way for me to just elicit that relaxation response and fill up my own battery. And being outside helps too. So for me, during this time of the year or during the summer, I'm like, oh, this is great. But I also train my clients. I will not answer the phone after a certain time. I will not answer my phone early in the morning. So I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. And quite frankly, I'm able to answer stuff during the day. And if you have to wait a little bit, then you have to wait a little bit. We're in such a digital world where you expect a response right away.
Yeah.
And I learned that in the classroom too. I actually never put my email on my phone when I was teaching. I refused to do that. So I think that teacher in me
Yeah.
is still there.
So smart.
So it's if a parent is reaching out post school, you're not getting a response till the next day. And I do the same thing. I had someone reach out yesterday, on a Sunday, late at night, you're not getting a response Sunday at nighttime. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So I really just try to have that dialogue with my clients, and I let them know ahead of time, like, after a certain time, I will be sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah. You sleep too, right?
Yeah.
Setting boundaries is a superpower.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And probably starting out as a teacher really helped with that,
Yeah.
because you have to have boundaries when it comes to students and parents,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that into real estate, that's really important, because
Absolutely.
people might not always expect that. Oh, if I send the message, I'm going to get an answer right away. But I think you setting that boundary once or twice, then they learn,
Yep.
okay, it's okay. She's going to respond the next morning and everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I see the message and I want to respond, but I'm like, nope. Then they're going to think that.
That's it.
Yeah. So I try to just keep that boundary.
Yeah.
Guess it depends on the size of the deal, right?
Yeah. It all depends. But for the most part, my family's a priority. And the whole reason why I left the classroom and became a real estate agent was for my family.
Yeah.
To be spend more time with them while I have my kids that are no longer babies. I have a
Yeah.
17-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I want to be at everything
Yeah.
because they're going to be gone soon.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, that flexibility is probably really nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. So how do you help manage, we talked about expectations a little bit, but emotions behind sellers? Because a lot of people are moving. They're maybe selling a house for an elderly parent. Maybe they are empty nesters, or there's so many reasons. Maybe they can't afford their home anymore. There's a lot of reasons people sell, and they're not always super positive.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
And the market's shifted too.
Oh, absolutely. So the first with the market shifting, I have to teach my sellers that we can't just start super high, and I give them
Yeah.
proof as to what the comps are, what homes are selling, and what they're going under contract for. So the proof is in the numbers. And then I explain, are you willing to sit and have it sit on the market for a long period of time, or do we need to move this quickly? So I let them kind of, it's called scaffolding in the classroom. And I don't know if you guys use that in therapy, but I kind of give them the tools to let them make their own decision. So that's one aspect with the seller. But there are times that, you're in a difficult situation, and that's where the extra care comes in.
Yeah.
Especially if, they're selling because of a death or a divorce. Divorces are not easy. And when you're those pillars of divorce, marriage, baby, buying a home is another pillar. So you're doing two life-changing events at the same time. And just having extra patience and extra care for your client is really important.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they really appreciate that
Yeah.
there is someone who's there who's actually being delicate with the situation,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a transaction, but you don't want it to feel completely transactional.
Exactly. Because for me, it's not, it is a transaction, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
a relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm in the relationship building industry.
Yeah.
Because if I don't trust you as a client, then I probably won't work with you, but vice versa. And my goal is really to have, I want to do so well that you're going to refer me. So at the end of the day, it's not about the money coming through. It's about the relationship that I've built. And then it just turns into something beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and your role is so awesome because you get to step alongside these families for a brief moment in time when they're going through one of the most major life transitions. I'm curious, if you have any cool stories about people that have been selling a home or buying a home where there's been stressful events or there's been monumental changes, and how that's played out.
So I'm actually in a divorce listing right now, and it is a challenge. Let me tell you. And I'm in the middle of people not agreeing and courts being involved. And I'm just being as professional as I can be and giving my best advice. And it, that caring and kindness step is really vital because I'm working with one side that's a little bit more understanding and the other side's a little bit more hostile. So, for the one side that's a little hostile, I need to show extra care because, my goal is to sell the home for maximum money so both parties can have what they need at the end of the day. And for me, what I'm doing is, I'm going to be present at every appointment. That's just me going an extra step. That's me having better communication with both sides. But it's not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy.
That's so emotional.
Very, very.
When you're in those charged situations, how do you stop yourself from taking that on?
So that's another good question. I do a lot of breathing, and I kind of do a little bit of internal meditation. So I try, it's something that I should have learned a little bit more in the classroom because I did take on their energy or even the parents' energy. But to not take on the stress of either
Yeah.
party in that situation. You know, I'm feeling for both sides because divorce is not something pleasant. But unfortunately, the house needs to be sold. So, you know, me going in and just taking a deep breath and trying to be calm, changing the tone of my voice, that, you know, that helps the other side that's a little bit more hostile feel a little bit more at ease.
Yeah.
So just little baby things are things that I try to work on.
Yeah, and it's probably hard to feel like you want to maybe get more involved in certain situations where someone's calling you and they're in distress and you want to help them, but also going back to the boundaries, you don't want to be on the phone with them for 3 hours.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you don't have the time to do that when you're trying to get this task done for them as well. So
Yeah.
I'm sure finding that balance is really important.
It definitely is. And I had a scenario, I had a renter, and the first time I had a conversation with her, and I absolutely adore this woman, she told me that she was having a hard time getting a rental because she was in this Section 8 program, and that another agent told her she was ghetto and she wasn't allowed to work with her. And I was like, my jaw dropped. And then as her and I built this relationship, my heart was breaking. I'm like, I am determined to get you a home. We're getting you something safe for you and your kids. And I don't care what it takes. That probably, number one, that was probably the hardest transaction I've ever had.
I can imagine.
But it was also a very rewarding transaction because she's like, Karlee, I'm so happy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is wonderful. And she's in a great home, very safe neighborhood, a good situation for her children. And it, like, all that hard work. And trust me, I probably spent more time with her than I did with a buyer because that situation was so challenging to get her something that would work in her budget in a safe area and meeting her needs without being violated against fair housing laws. I'm like, you don't even, even as an agent, some of the other agents that I was working with was like, we don't want to deal with Section 8. I'm like, that's a violation of fair housing laws. And you'd be surprised it happens so much more.
And they just blatantly say
They
that to
blatantly say
clients?
that. Yep.
That's horrible.
It's horrible. You know, and I educate my clients when they're renting. I'm like, this is what the fair housing law is. We don't want to violate the fair housing laws. And guess what? If you do end up getting someone in Section 8, here's why it's a benefit. Here's why it's protecting. You're getting income from the state. They're paying another portion. And if they're not taking care of your home, you go to the housing authority and the people could potentially lose their voucher. So there are safeguards on both sides, but it's really about education and educating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the differences between approaches, with buying a home or with, buying or selling a home versus renting a home?
So I would say renting a home is actually a lot harder. The market is insane for both. But
is.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very insane for both. But renting is, I think, more expensive. So when I have that, sometimes I'll take them out for their first appointment and they're like, oh, I'm like, well, maybe we have a conversation with a lender, and I feel them out on that route.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, I want to make sure that you're taken care of and I want to make sure you're making the best move for yourself, your family, whatever your needs are, and financially.
Yeah.
And spending close to $4,000 on rent versus $2,500 on a mortgage, like, is that going to be easier for you and your family? So having that conversation up front is important, but also understanding why they have to rent. Maybe they want to buy a home, but they're not ready yet, or maybe they are just moving into the area for a job, so they can learn the area. So every situation is going to be different, but renting, I think, in my opinion, is a little bit harder. But having those expectations up front with your renters, and on the same side, having those expectations with the buyers. Some people need to only be in certain districts. So certain towns are going to be a little bit more money than other towns.
For a buyer right now, which one is more competitive, renting a house or buying a house?
Renting.
Yeah.
Renting for sure.
That's wild.
Yeah.
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 Do you ever have a situation where you have a client who is buying a house and you don't agree with it? You're like, this is not a good town, or this is not, like, something about it is not a good match for that person.
So I always try to keep my opinion to myself. And I know a lot of times they want my opinion, but I'm not the one living there. I can give them certain advice. As an educator, I try to do my best to educate about the area, but there's also laws in place that I'm not allowed to say certain things. And that's a little hard for me because I want to be like, oh, that's a great school system, but I'm not allowed to say that.
Really?
Yeah. So I can't tell
Wow.
you if it's a good school or not. But what I can tell you is what to look for in a school. And that I think is a bonus for me because I know what a good school looks like.
Yeah.
There's schools out there that you think are fantastic schools and they're really not. And there's
Yeah.
schools that people think are bad schools and they're actually great schools. So I educate them to like, this is what you want to look for in a town, in a school. But more so, like I might have liked a home and been like, oh, this is great. And they might not have liked it, but it's something that it's not my decision.
Yeah.
That's really hard to keep your opinion to yourself.
It
That
is.
this house is perfect, and you're like, oh, it needs so much work, and it's on a railroad, and
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you can think of, and to not vocalize that opinion has to be really hard.
I mean, and again, it boils down to like the outside, like physical, like you buy the railroad. Okay, we do have a lot of railroads in the area.
Oh, a lot of railroads
It's hard
in
to
Monmouth
not
County.
buy on a railroad. That's why it came to my mind. So
Yeah.
we were looking at houses. You have to pretty much live
Everything's
on
on
a
a
railroad,
railroad.
especially if you want to live in a beach town.
Yep. So you have the rails, but then you also have the dump over on Shafto. So
Yes.
in Monmouth County, it's involved. So like that. There's actually health cases from that. So
Yeah.
I can't tell you that you should or should not buy there, but I can say if you're close to a busy street or a rail or the landfill, but also the high raise. What are they? I'm drawing a blank. The wires.
The power
yeah,
lines.
The power lines,
Yeah.
the big ones.
The big
Like I can
ones,
say,
yeah.
well, that might be a cheap point for you to buy, but also it's not going to increase your home value.
Right.
So, I will have those conversations with my clients about that, but it's really their decision.
Yeah, that education is so helpful for anxiety.
Yeah.
When you're getting nervous about making a big purchase, what tools can you equip buyers with to help with that?
So we actually have like a branded checklist. My office has something that, I give that they know every step of the way, but it also is that
that's
conversation that I have with them. And, I kind of like turnkey some of my own like methods for me to calm down. So, I'm very holistic. I have crystals and aromatherapy and breathing, I think, is one of my favorite tools. So if I see someone getting a little nervous, I'm like, all right, let's take a deep breath. Let's do some box breathing or let's do something like that. But that happens only more so like a little bit and more of like my renters seem to feel that way because they're desperate.
Yeah.
Not that the other people aren't, but
it's different.
I see more desperation with renters.
If somebody's like looking for, how do I know if this is a good school system? How do I know if the neighborhood's a place where I want to raise my family? Where can they go online for that?
So I actually refer people to homes.com, and that'll give them a nice overview of the town. I think they do a really good job about providing the what's the town has to offer. And then what I tell my clients to look for in the schools, you basically want a microcosm of the world. You don't want to be in a box cookie cutter. You want a microcosm so you have a little bit of an experience on different classes, different races, different economic statuses. And that, in my opinion, is good. If you have a student with disabilities, you maybe need a good special ed program. I kind of say you might want to be in a bigger district that has the funds. I'm a great example. I was in a small district as a child. Luckily, my mom was a special education teacher, so she gave me the tools at home. But I really could have benefited from in-class support and different programs because I'm dyslexic and I have a reading comprehension issue. And the school didn't have the budget for me. So, and maybe there's spectrum or autism. It really just depends on what your student might need. So that's important too, to see what kind of programs they have. I try to avoid using test scores. They're not always a great indicator of whether a school is good or not, because that's one day of a student taking a test.
Right.
I'm going to call my child out. She's an excellent student, and she has in National Honor Society. She has great grades, honors, AP, great GPA. The kid has poor test scores, so she had to take her math test over again this summer. So you're going to, like, that child now is an indication of the teacher and the school.
Right. How does that make any
Yeah.
sense?
So I always say test scores aren't really the way to go.
So when you're on Zillow and it says on the bottom, school it's what is it, out of 10? Like an 8 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. Is that based on test scores?
Sometimes. So that's why you want to like really dig into it. I want to say there's a website called like greaterschools.org or something like that. And you can kind of do a little bit more research and it'll show you more about like the breakdown of the school versus like that what Zillow puts out. Like I think
Just
Zillow
like
kind
one
of puts out
thing.
a lot of stuff that's not really
Oh, yeah.
positive. So, but with schools, you just dig into it, but then also look up the school itself.
Yeah.
Go directly to the school's website. And same thing like with it's not being school, look at the county website, look up the state website, or not state, the town website. Take a look at the police blotter, like what's happening. Is there a lot of crime in the area? And those are all like, that's the due diligence on the buyer.
Yeah.
There is a sex offender search website
Yes,
too.
yeah.
What's it called?
Megan's Law.
Megan's Law.
Megan's
Yeah.
Law.
And I remember pulling up that map, and that's a wild map.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Especially, because people will have this stereotypical, this is a nice town. But then you look on that map, that happened to us. We're like, oh, this is like this set town that we really want to be in.
Yeah.
And then we pulled that up and we're like, there was like 4 in 1 square mile.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I don't care how much you like the town. You have to think about these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to the sellers, how do you help sellers when they kind of have their mindset on something? I know a lot of people are very emotionally attached to their homes, maybe attached to a number, or my neighbor sold their house for this, so I'm going to sell my house for this.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
And that happens all of the time. Like every single statement that you just made, I've heard it dozens. It's the proof is in the pudding, and you have to show, like I literally will print out the listing of the others and the areas and what's happening. So I'm like, this is home A, B, and C. And this is what it looks like. This is what the other home looks like. Here are the numbers. Here's how many days on market it was on the market for. This is what the original price was. And this is what it closed at. And then that, once they see that, the wall kind of comes down on like, well, my home. And I'm like, well, I know it's your home and we love your home. Like you're
it's so
very attached.
personal.
It's very
Yeah.
personal, but this is not a personal transaction. This is an actual transaction, and someone's going to come in and they don't care that you've been in the home for 25 years. My parents sold their home after 25 years, and my mom and dad, it was hard for them, but like you have to look at the facts.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Do people think that maybe their house is more updated than it is? Like, is that a big issue that you see?
Yeah. Because someone's like, oh, I just updated it, but that would be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
But to them, that was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And they put so much love and work and money into it.
Yep.
So that's where it's hard, because it's like, it's not personal, but it is. And
Yeah.
I'm sure finding that balance of how to make them feel like it's really personal, but also helping them navigate that it is a financial transaction.
Yeah. And again, it boils down to motivation. Like, how motivated are you to actually want to sell your home? I've had people just say, oh, I just want to get a number. I'm like, okay, well, then you're really not motivated on selling your home.
Yeah.
So if the motivation's not there, the transaction's not going to happen. The home will not go on the market. It won't even make it past the next step. Or I probably won't even take it because I know that you're not willing to move to the next step. But it really boils down on, like, how bad do you want to go to wherever it is that you're moving to next?
Yeah. Do you ever find that sellers are particular about who they sell to? Like, do they say like, oh, like I really want to sell to a family, or I really want, does that ever happen?
I haven't necessarily seen that myself, but a couple years ago, before they made the law, they used to have love letters, and now you're not allowed to have a love letter anymore. It's like, oh, I'm a family and I really want to be in this town.
Are you not allowed to do that anymore?
No. So
Why'd they stop that?
I think because it was I'm assuming it was a violation of the fair housing laws. That's my guess.
Because you could discriminate and say, I want this person because of this thing that they're saying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Did those letters used to work?
You know what? I'm sure they did. My parents actually got a love letter.
I would want one.
Yeah, they did. They got one. That was actually my first home that I sold, and we're like, oh, okay, great. And then it ended up falling through because she wanted like all these things, and some of the stuff wasn't even my parents' property. And
I love your house, but
yeah.
here's
I'm like,
what I
that's
don't
not
love.
even our fence. Like, she wanted the fence replaced. I'm like, that's the neighbor's fence.
Oh.
But there were other things that were like, the lawn needs to be graded. I'm like, dude, you either want the home or you don't.
Yeah.
So my parents moved on, but actually the people that bought their home, my parents stayed with. They actually had a hard time selling their home. Their home fell through 3 times. And my parents were like, no, we'll just stick with it. And I think a lot of it was my parents knowing who they were getting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the best choice for them, but as like someone who lived in the house, and then like now you have a family that literally is making this their forever home. Like my parents made it for us. But the love letters back in the day, I'm sure worked, but now you're not supposed to use them.
Yeah.
They do. I've heard people still use them, but you're not supposed to.
That's so interesting. Well, we may or may not have sent a love letter to
That's okay.
the
We won't
house
tell
that we
anyone.
bought, but we didn't know you weren't supposed to.
For anybody that's going to be starting their home searching journey, home buying journey, what's like one biggest piece of advice that you can give them?
Just have patience and find the right realtor, because that realtor is going to make sure that you know what's happening every step of the way, and they're willing to guide you every step of the way. Buying a home is a process all in itself. Finding the home is a process all in itself, and you want to feel confident in the person that you're working with, and their abilities to juggle the million jobs that we have. You know, we're basically movie directors, and there's a lot of hats we wear. So you want to make sure that you trust your realtor, that you feel confident in your realtor, and just understand that your realtor has your best interest. It's like I said before, it's about the relationship. It's not about the transaction. You're not a number in my book. You're a new family that I'm working with, a new friend, someone that I can visit on the holidays and drop off a pie for Thanksgiving, or invite you to our office party when we have our, celebration with our clients. I want that relationship. That's really, you want to find an agent like that.
Yeah. What are some red flags to look for in an agent?
That they're not educated, and that they're only out for themselves and pushing you into something. You don't want to feel pushed or pressured into buying a home. Yeah, I would love for you to buy $1 million home, but guess what? If that's not going to fit what you need for your family, I'm not putting you there. I had my best friend from college. She was looking, and the $1 million home wasn't working for her. And guess what? I put her into a home that was half the price, and I was happy with it because I knew she was happy with it. I didn't care that I didn't lose out on money. Like, I lost out on money, but it didn't matter to me. I wanted to make sure my friend was taken care of. And I think if they don't have that care, I think that's the red flag for me.
Which I think it comes back around to you anyway, because it's like we said before, you have referrals, you have people that might come back to you if they're later looking for an investment property, or if you have a renter who they're going to rent there for a year or two, they're going to look for to rent again, or they're going to look to buy in the future. So I think having that relationship established,
100%.
you're probably seeing a lot of like boomerang clients that are coming back.
And funny enough, and granted, she's giving it to me because I'm sure I'm her friend, but she actually can confidently say in my abilities. I've already gotten commercial leads from her, like, that have turned into like an actual closed transaction. And she's another friend of mine. Like, I've gotten several renter leads, several buyer leads, all from her, from one person, because I did a good job.
Well, I think that philosophy of genuinely caring and putting the relationship first is an approach that can translate to any field you're in.
Yeah. 100, and that's how it was in the classroom. I actually ran into one of my students the other day at the Italian American Festival in Ocean, and I'm like, I'm giving a big hug. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you. Like, you get excited when you see your kids move on. And, I would always tell my parents, I'm like, they're my kids too. They're my babies. Like, I know that you're physically, they came out of your body, or they're your DNA, but they're mine too. And I care about them just like I care about my own children. So when you get to see someone succeed in life, and they did a great job, and now they're doing wonderful things, like playing football for Notre Dame, or going off and creating an amazing business. But then on the flip side, it's the same thing. Like, now I get to see families move on to their next life. Like new couples buying homes, or a family buying their first home, or even downsizing and investing. Like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really exciting to see.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to run some quick fire questions? We have some prepared over here.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
something we
have
do.
some rapid fire real estate edition questions.
Okay.
So you can answer each question if you can do like one sentence, the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. Biggest misconception about buying a home?
That it's easy.
Most emotional sale you've ever made?
My parents.
Oh, and you said that was your first one?
It was. So it was like a double whammy. My first transaction, but it was hard because it was like my home.
Oh my goodness.
Your
You're like,
childhood
why did I
home.
do this first?
I'm like, I kind of miss my house.
I don't want to do it.
You're going to not be like, hey, friend.
Worst realtor
remember
ever,
me?
right? Don't sell the house, Mom.
No, I don't want you to do it anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's so
so
funny.
emotional. All right. What helps people feel instantly at home in a new space?
I had a client just walk in and know right away that was the home that she wanted. And it's just a feeling. It's kind of like trying on a wedding dress or trying on a prom dress. It's a feeling that you get, and you know it's right.
I love that. Something every buyer should know before starting their search.
Have patience. Have patience. It's going to be a journey, but have
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah. I think starting people off like that is probably really helpful.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been amazing. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. This was such a good conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
What's next in your journey, and where can people
Yeah.
find more about you?
So I am at Goldstone Realty, and we have offices in Bell Works, in Homedale, and in Toms River. So you can follow me online. I'm Mrs. New Jersey Sells Homes on Instagram. And if you ever want to reach out, my email is realtorkarleesmart@gmail.com. So you can stay in touch and follow along that way.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.